Hey everyone, this is Andy from Gizchina, and today we're going to look at the Meizu M1 Note. Now this is the Chinese version of the phone, so we've got the mainland Note name here, FHD because it's a full HD 1920 by 1080 phone. As you can see, obviously it has Chinese writing on here. This is the Chinese version of the phone. If we turn the phone over, it has a few specifications here. Mentions TD-LTE on the right, but actually the full specs include TD-LTE and FDD-LTE. So 4G LTE support outside of China shouldn't be a problem. The actual specs are 1800, 2100, if that helps anyone with their decision to buy the M1 Note or not. Now this phone has been sent to us by Flow Small. It's the blue version of the Meizu M1 Note. Take a look at the actual phone itself in a moment. In the packaging you get the phone itself. You get this small package here which has the USB data cable and also has this nice little SIM ejector tool, a Flyme SIM ejector tool, which has a nice little cloud pattern on there. Also in the box we have a Chinese adapter plug here for charging the phone via USB. And that's it, there are no earphones or anything else in the box, just the phone itself. And obviously when the phone does come out of the packaging there's some protective film across the screen and on the back to make sure it doesn't get scratched in transport. There's also this instruction manual, but it's in Chinese, so it's not much use if you don't speak Chinese. Okay, so the M1 Note itself. This is Meizu's current mid-range phone. It is rumored that this is going to be replaced on the 2nd of June with the M2 Note. I'm not sure what the difference between the M2 Note and the M1 Note will be, but rumors are that the rear will be metal rather than plastic, and there'll be a physical home button rather than this capacitive one. But anyway, let's concentrate on what we've got in our hands. So first of all, front, we have this 5.5-inch 1920 by 1080 display. We've got a front 5 megapixel camera. We've got the regular Meizu Halo home button there, which means there is no capacitive navigation on either side, but instead we have a smart bar system in Flyme, which I'll show you in a moment. Bezels are quite thin on either side of the screen. It's very similar in design to the MX4, although it's slightly longer because of the ratio of the screen. If we look at the left-hand side of the phone, we've got a volume rocker here. Actually, it's 2 buttons for volume up and down. Power button at the top with a 3.5mm headphone jack. In the base, we've got a single speaker and USB with a microphone there too. And on the other side we have a single SIM tray, and that single SIM tray does have room for dual SIM slots. There isn't any room in there for a micro SD card, only the Meizu M1, which is the 5-inch China only phone for now, has micro SD. On the rear we've got the Meizu logo, dual tone LED flash, and 13 megapixel rear camera. Now this is a unibody phone, so unlike the Meizu MX4 and the MX4 Pro, the rear doesn't come off this phone. But personally that doesn't bother me at all. The MX4 and the MX4 Pro, to be honest, it was a bit silly to have the removable rear shell. All you could do once you got in there was put a SIM card in. The SIM tray is much neater, and it also means that the rear of the M1 Note is very smooth. There are no lips or edges. It's very thin and it's extremely comfortable. If you've ever held a Meizu MX3, this is what you would expect the MX4 to be like. You know, a unibody plastic design, nice and comfortable, lightweight. It feels really good. To be honest, I much prefer the feel of this to the metal-bodied MX4 and MX4 Pro. Anyway, so let's turn the phone on. You got your lock screen here. Obviously, we just swipe up to open up the phone. And you can see this is the Chinese version of the phone. We've got the Chinese weather application, which will not work outside of China. We've also got a few web stores in here, which are really only for Chinese applications. Baidu Maps, Weibo. And as you can see, there's no Google applications in here at all. You will need to flash either manually an international version of the ROM, or you can actually install an installer application similar to what is available for Xiaomi phones. So you can easily install Google apps onto the phone itself. Okay, so as you can see, we're running Flyme OS on the phone, and just like the Meizu MX4 and Meizu MX4 Pro, you've got all the same features. In fact, although this is a mid-range phone, there aren't any differences in feature between this, the MX4 and the MX4 Pro, except the fact that this doesn't have the options for the fingerprint scanner. which is a really nice feature. If you compare that to, say, MIUI on the Redmi versus MIUI on the Mi Note, there are a few differences in features, but Meizu keep their features the same throughout the range. Okay, so from the home screen, what we've got here, we can swipe down from anywhere on the home screen, swipe down again, and you've got our quick settings here. We'd also have any notifications. We've also got that little smart touch button here, which we've seen in the past on the MX4. You can see we can move this around, and we can use that to move the screen down, so it's easy for you to reach the top of the screen. Some of those apps are a bit out of the way. You can double tap that to get up there nice and easy. Let's just turn that off. Swiping from the bottom brings up the currently used apps. These are the apps that are running in the background, and you can clear them one by one, or you can lock them into position by holding them down. You can see a little padlock will appear. And if you want to get rid of all the apps that are running in the background, you simply swipe it down, and you can see everything but the locked application is cleaned away. Alright, into the settings of the phone itself. Settings are exactly the same as what you find on the MX4 and the MX4 Pro, except obviously we've got dual SIM support on here, so you've got your different SIM settings here for each SIM. If you go into the languages, you can see we've got lots of different languages in here. Not every language that's available on Android, but all the languages that are available on Flyme OS. You can see that we use the smart bar to get around in the system on here. You can see we've got the smart bar arrow there. Hit that again. If we go into the camera application, this is the 13 megapixel camera on the rear of the phone. This is the exact same app as the MX4 Pro. You can see swiping to the right or the left will change the settings. We've got panorama, light field, a barcode scanner, slow motion video, auto, manual, beauty mode, and back to panorama again. We've also obviously got video settings in here, manual settings, tons and tons of features in here, and I am very interested to see just how well this 13 megapixel camera on the M1 Note compares to the 20.1 megapixel camera on the MX4 and MX4 Pro. Okay, so overall, that's our first hands-on impressions of the M1 Note. I've got to say, I do like the feel of this phone. I already mentioned this is my favorite Meizu currently on the market. It's a great price, has great specifications, 2 GB of RAM, 5.5-inch Full HD display, an MT6752 octacore processor, dual SIM LTE, pretty good size battery, and a nice OS which is full of features. At the moment this is available only in China and India, but if you have a look online there are resellers such as FlowSmall who do offer the M1 Note to other markets around the world. Anyway, so that's it. That's our hands-on with the M1 Note. Keep your eyes out for the full review coming very, very soon, and also keep your eyes on those Meizu M2 rumors, which will be ongoing until the launch on the 2nd of June. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.